It feels like money slips through your fingers faster than you can hold on to it. One unexpected expense, one bill you didn't see coming, and suddenly, you're back to zero. The fear of losing what little you have can be overwhelming. It's not just money you're losing. It's peace of mind, stability, hope. Let's turn fear into action and struggle into strength, because saving isn't just about money. It's about building a future you can feel good about. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. Let's start today.
The other day I made a video saying how one of my goals for next year is to invest $1,000 a month. And I know that's a very hefty goal. That's why it's a goal. But I want to talk about kind of like how I'm able to do that. I've been really interested in investing content lately on here, and it almost just seems like people just have money to invest, and it seems like there's a big gap between like middle class to like rich, and it can be really overwhelming watching that content sometimes. So I'm going to be vulnerable and tell you what I did when I was younger to set me up for success today, and be able to say that $1,000 a month in investing is a reachable goal for me. I'm going to do a little series on investing and what it's like for someone that's 25 years old that comes from the middle class. But I also want to show you that investing is not just for the rich, it's for everybody. Okay, so I grew up very, very, very middle class. Like, I never worried about like what food I was going to be eating or where I was going to be living. We just didn't have extras, whatever. And so I was really excited when I turned 15 and I could get a job. So that's what I did. I got a job. And I had so many jobs. Like, I worked in the service industry from 15 to like 23. I was just so happy to be making money. And I've always been a very big saver. So I'd usually save like half of whatever I was making. So I'm working, I'm saving, going to high school, whatever. My parents were like, okay, so it's time to look at colleges. We don't have the money to be sending you to a $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year school. So you're on your own with this. But we advise you not to take out any loans. And I was like, cool. What the hell does that mean? And so basically, like, I could go to community college, cause that's what we could afford. I loved my experience there. It was just annoying because I had to sacrifice like that college experience that they try to sell you on. And I had to live at home, and I worked like almost full time while I was in college. So while everyone else was out partying, I was working on my homework and I worked at a deli at the time. So now it's time to go to the state school, and that's obviously like way more expensive. So I took out some loans. My parents didn't co-sign on any loans. So whatever my loans that I got approved for would cover, whatever else I had to cover. So because I was saving so much, I was able to cover the rest of my tuition. And let me tell you, this route that I took, and I'll do another video on it, but was the best financial decision I've ever made in my entire life. Like, I graduated with like $14,000 worth of debt, which we all know is nothing. But because I was working and going to school, I, again, was saving my money still, like not going on vacation, not going to parties and drinking, not spending money on Ubers as much, like not buying clothes, like not buying the latest iPhone. Like, I really just was working and going to school. Like, that's really all I did. And I drove my mom's old, like an older car for like the last 5 years. So I had the money in 2020 to buy myself a used Honda Civic for like $15K, and I bought it cash. And that was probably the best, or the second best financial decision I've ever made, because I didn't have a car payment, which allowed me to continue to save. I got my first corporate job, and I continued to live at home. Thank God my parents allowed me to do that, but that helped out a lot. And then I just worked, and then I just paid off my debt, my school debt, and I did it within a year. So that's kind of like where I'm at now. And all this time I've been living at home and saving and not having like any high payments. So now I'm in a position that I have my nest egg. Now I can start investing. I still have kept low expenses. So now we're here, and now I can start investing. So again, like, this is not advice at all. This is just my journey, and I just want to share with people that it's not just you get from one place and then you're all the way at 100. Like, I had to make sacrifices, and I had to work really, really hard to get to this point to now be able to say, okay, cool. Now I can start investing and building wealth for the future. Yeah, this is just a little story. I'm going to continue to make like little videos like these. But yeah.
All right, y'all. So I'm sitting here eating, yes, in my car by myself because I enjoy it. I thought I'd give y'all a few tips on how to keep your electricity bill down. Time's getting rough out there, you know what I'm saying? So every little bit helps. All right, when I was living in Florida, I had moved from the projects to a really nice apartment. So when I was in the projects, everything was paid for. My lights was paid for, my gas was paid for, my rent was paid for. So when I moved here and got my first bill from JEA and it was $400, I almost choked. What? Anyway, so I went to JEA's page on Facebook and they had all these pointers and all these tips on how to reduce your bill. And one of the tips that I learned worked the best for me was turning off the circuit breakers before I leave the house in the morning to go to work. Because why do I need electricity coming into my house while I'm not there, right? The only thing I did was leave the circuit breaker for the refrigerator on so my food didn't spoil. But other than that, everything else got shut down. I literally went from a $400 a month bill to $70. And by the time I left that apartment, I was down to like $40 a month with electricity. Okay, so that's the first tip. The second tip, this one I got from my grandfather. Love you, Pop Pop. He has transitioned, but he will always be missed. Now, my grandfather worked for Con Edison for like, I don't know, 30, 40 years or something like that. And he said people have this assumption that their light bill is high because everybody's leaving the lights on in the house. He said no. He said what makes people's bills go up so high is the constant switching the lights on and off. Because when it shuts down, it now has to start back up. And every time it has to start back up when you hit that light switch on, it pulls so much energy in order just to do that. So either you leave the lights on or you leave the lights off. It's basically what he was saying. But that constant off and on, that will drive your bill skyrocket. So just a few tips I thought I'd help you guys with because times is getting kind of bad out there. I thought I'd help somebody, you know, somebody might need this insight. Somebody probably got their light bill today or something. They like, yo.
I think it's so crucial to sacrifice a season of your life if you have to in order to create the life that you want for your future self. If you want to get out of debt, you just might have to sacrifice going out every weekend. You may have to cut some people off who don't understand the journey that you're on right now. You may have to decenter men or women in dating for a little while. Personally, this summer for me was that season where I had to really just lock in, make some sacrifices. I worked a lot. And now we're at the end of November. I'm about to sit down and track my expenses for the last couple of days and make my final debt payment, which I'm super excited about. As I'm reflecting, now that I'm about to be 100% completely debt-free, I can totally say that sacrificing a season of my life was 100% worth it.
Biggest life lesson that I'm learning is just because you have some money, don't mean you need to spend the money. Save you some money. Save you some money.
Things that I wish my mom or some adult in my life could have told me. Learn how to say no. Like if somebody invites you to a restaurant and you can't go because you don't have the money to do so, say no. This is something that us as adults, we need to learn how to do. You can't just say yes, oh yeah, I'll be there, knowing fully well that you don't have the means to do so. Knowing fully well that you're trying to be on a budget, or knowing fully well that you don't get paid enough to eat out every weekend. We need to learn how to start saying no. And excuse my voice, I have a cold. But we need to learn how to say no to people. It's not that every time somebody tells you let's go out to eat or let's go to the mall that you have to say yes, I'm coming along. Learn how to live below your means. Okay, bye.
I don't know if other people do this or if I'm just late to the financial literacy party, but something I have been doing recently is using a credit card that has the exact amount, the credit limit of what my budget is in my current season. And I have been doing this recently and I have seen such strong impact in me having more financial responsibility and for me still being able to do all the things that I like to do, getting my hair done, my nails done, like all of that stuff. But I see the difference in choosing a card that has a low credit limit that can house all of my monthly maintenance, personal expenses, all the things that I need to get through the month while it's still on track with the actual budget that I've set out for myself. In the past, I was using a credit card with an extremely high limit and I was just paying it off that way. But I can see the difference in choosing the card that has a very low credit limit that is matched with my monthly budget for me to stay on track and for me to be able to spend my money more wisely. And I just want to know if anybody else is doing this, because I know it's so easy to get caught up in the high credit limits and paying it off, racking up the points. But I feel like I'm much more financially responsible because I have this certain credit limit. I'm talking 3 figures. This is how much money I can spend each month. And once that card is done, it's done and I pay it off because it's all within my budget and I'm not having to transfer balances over or anything like that. I'm trying to save money, okay? And I have to be financially responsible because I got goals to reach. And this is one of those things that is helping me keep myself accountable and keeping me on track.
I had a fully funded emergency fund before I bought my first home at 23. And yes, I did have 3 jobs, but that is not the point of the story. The point of the story is to start a foundation. I had a weird relationship with money, and I'm a tangible, have to see in real life type of person. So basically what I did to discipline myself was I said every single $20 that I make in tips, every single tangible $20, like a $20 bill, I will go and I will put it in a separate envelope. When that envelope reaches $500, I will then upgrade myself by putting that $500 into a high yield savings account to start the foundation of saving for my future. And once I did that, it took me a couple months to save that $500. Once I started the high yield savings account, after I put the $500 in there, I stopped making tangible deposits into the account. Basically, what I did at that point is I decided every single shift, 2 hours of my shift will be devoted to going into that account. So if I was making $20 an hour, I said, okay, for 2 hours a day, I'm working for my future or I'm working to fund my emergency fund. And I would set up an automatic draft so that 2 hours worth of wages would go into that account every single time that I got paid. And over time, actually, in less than, I believe, 7 months, I had a fully funded emergency fund that covered 3 months worth of my future expenses.
Here are the most important 3 things that helped me save $100K in 1 year. Number 1, I made it a goal to get my spending under control. I used to not check my statements and I used to be scared of checking how much I'm spending every month. And then I started checking it more and I made it a game to decrease the number of transactions I have in a month to as least as possible. Doing that made me realize how much things I don't need to buy outside of my needs. Number 2, I made a monthly plan of how much I want to save each month. I listed out January, February for the rest of the year, and I know exactly how much I will be able to save by the end of the year. That really helped me to stay consistent with saving money every month. Number 3, I was able to save $100K in such a short amount of time. It was largely attributed to the fact that I invested my money. It was during 2020, and even though I was a little bit scared to pour my money into the stock market when it's down, I knew that the value was going to go up sometime in the future. So I actually upped my 401k percentage. I contributed to my Roth IRA, maxed out all of those accounts, and I invested outside of that in a taxable brokerage. That was a huge reason why my net worth increased so fast. So investing is such a great way to build your wealth right now because the market is down, and so it's basically on sale.
If you're someone that has $1,000 or more sitting in a savings account, what I'm about to say could make you a boatload of money.
Realistically, that won't happen for you if you have like 1,000-ish in savings or anywhere near that amount. You're not going to make a boatload like anytime in the near future by just moving that money into a high yield savings account, which is what she's suggesting. This is exactly what I've been talking about in my last few videos about savings and high yield savings accounts when I'm talking about expectation setting, because I was very susceptible to that kind of video when I was younger. And it was frustrating for me when I wasn't making a boatload because apparently everybody else was. She's right, you can make a boatload with a high yield savings account with the asterisk of if you already have a lot of money. You should still do it. Like I've been saying this, by all means, get a high yield savings account, because if you have money in savings, you might as well be getting a high yield for it. It's just a no-brainer. But also set your expectations correctly. I'm not saying she's wrong. And I want to make a point of that because sometimes people stitch my videos and they tell me that I'm just blanket wrong and it's annoying to me. There's one video in particular that I'm thinking about. She's right about the potential to make a lot of money. It's just not going to happen when you're starting out.
Saving money tips is trending. Let's talk about it. My top 3 money saving tips are as follows. Number 1, go through your last 3 months worth of bank statements, pull up your app, whatever. Find 3 things to get rid of. I don't care if that's Paramount Plus. I don't care if that's a food delivery service. I don't care if it's a weekly Starbucks habit. Find 3 things to get rid of and dedicate yourself, like devote yourself. I am going to get rid of these 3 things. Second thing, evaluate your insurance, your health, your life, your umbrella policy, your car, your auto, your rent, evaluate all of it. Get 3 other quotes. And lastly, I repeat, do not go to the grocery store unless you have mapped out your meals, searched your own pantry, shopped your own refrigerator, your own freezer. Do not go to the store without a clear-cut reason for being there. Let me know if you try them.
3 saving tips that have changed my life and helped me to save more in the last couple of months than I have in my entire life, right? You need to audit your money. You need to know where your money is going. You cannot just be getting paid and just be hoping for the best or going out with vendors and looking at your bank account after. You need to know where your money goes. You need to know before your money gets into your account where every single penny is supposed to be. No, we'll just wing it, because keep winging it and you're going to be 60 with no retirement plan. That's number 1. And all of that going out with your friends on a weekend away and looking at your bank account after needs to stop. You are an adult. That is not attractive. That is not attractive. You need to know before the weekend away what you're willing to spend. Even if it means you don't trust yourself and you only bring £100 instead of bringing the whole 500 on your card, then do that. Number 2, you do not need to eat like a king on your break at work. Stop with the food at work. I had to. Oh my gosh. I was spending like £10 a day on what? I now go to Lidl and meal prep and I literally spend about £15 for Monday to Friday. You cannot be eating like that at work. If you can afford it, fantastic. This video is not for those that can afford these things. If you can afford these things, please do not comment that you can afford these things. The video is not for that. It's for those that know that they're spending too much money on something and they need to stop. Number 3, you do not need a new outfit every time you go out. And I'm speaking to my old self. You do not need an outfit every time you go out. Stop buying dresses, stop buying jumpsuits, start buying 2 pieces that you can pair with other stuff. That's one of the biggest things I learned. I used to buy a dress every single time I went out and I only wore a dress once. Who am I? I'm not Beyonce. Even famous people don't do that. They get gifted things. And a lot of the things they wear, they have to give back. So if you're following famous people who aren't even doing that, then where do you think your life is going to be? Stop buying new things. Start buying 2 pieces. You bought a top and a shirt. You can wear the shirt with something else next time. You can wear the trousers with something else next time. Stop it. So those are my 3 things. Number 1, watch where your money's going. Like a hawk, like a naughty child. You need to keep an eye on that. Number 2, you do not need to eat like a king on your break. And number 3, you do not need to buy a new outfit every single time. Okay, bestie? You don't.
Some of y'all make too many excuses for me, because what do you mean you want to get out of debt? But the minute I suggest you to do something uncomfortable, you can't. One of my first suggestions is always get a second job. You can't. Okay. Pick up extra shifts. You can't. Okay. Downgrade the car. You can't. Okay. Get rid of a bunch of stuff, a bunch of junk that you own, and get extra cash that way. You can't. So what can you do then? What can you do? Because at some point you got to be able to do something about your situation. And here's the thing that I am going to say over and over and over again. This whole getting out of debt and being so intense about it is going to be for a very short period of your life. And you never have to do it again because you've already paid the price to win. But you got to pay a price to win. It's non-negotiable. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. Choose your hard. That is when that comes in. Choose your hard. It's going to be hard regardless. Do you want to work the 12-hour shifts or do you want to sell your freaking car? Choose the hard. But I've sat here and talked to people that swear they want to get out of debt and swear that they want to do something about getting their life together. And again, the minute I start throwing out suggestions, everything's hard. No, I can't do it. No, that's impossible. No, that can't happen. So what are you willing to do? Do you want it or do you just like the illusion of you wanting it?